It's raining so hard right now. I've just filled 3 jerrys with water and I'm on my 4th one. And it's just pouring. It's so cool. It's like his hat. Just put a little rainwater in the old Nalgene. This is crazy. Rainwater tastes so much better than tank water. This is really exciting. These are exciting times. Uh-oh. Less exciting. Ah! Help! Help! Welcome to Hippie Sailing. I'm single-handing migrant 27 around the world. I started my trip in Maine with a very cold 10-month overhaul of my entire boat. Solo sailed through the Caribbean, the Panama Canal, and 41 days alone across the Pacific. I've been cruising in French Polynesia for the last year and a half, kiting, spearfishing, freediving, and of course fixing all the things that break on my boat. Aboard the Gek, I have no fridge, water maker, fancy electronics, and my rowboat is a dinghy with a sail rig. If you're interested in seeing my daily life, check out my Instagram @BoatLizard. Okay, enjoy the episode. Alright, so I almost have more water than I have containers for holding water, so in a second I'm gonna have to divert. This is so sad, but I literally have nowhere else to put water. All my tanks are full, all my jerrys are full. I'm gonna have to tie the hose so that the water runs off the side of the boat, because it's coming down. I just filled this bucket and this bucket. This one is merrily on its way. And all these jerrys are full, and my tanks are full. So I have this string, and I'm about to get really wet. I'm probably just gonna tie it off here and make sure it goes overboard so I can flood my boat. Oh, it's almost full. Maybe I'll get the kettle. Alright, kettle's full. Alright, this is the first time in history this has ever happened. My scuppers aren't even keeping up with the water. Holy shit. But I have the hose going over the side now. And it's just pissing water. This is crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. So this is pretty classic weather. Okay, not this much rain. I don't think I've ever had this much rain, but when you get westerlies and northerlies in the Tuamotus this time of year, it rains a lot. The supply ships aren't running for a month, so there are no vegetables anywhere, but I do need other things like the fake cheese that I eat, and crackers, and hot chocolate. So I've come to town, but I haven't actually been to town yet because I'm hiding behind a reef to protect myself from the westerlies. So it's been almost 2 months since I've been in a town, in a grocery store. I'm just eating my way through all my canned foods, and food is starting to get really boring for me, so I'm changing my diet to coffee and rice. It's very healthy. So it's more westerlies that are coming up today, and I have sailed back to Fakarava where I'm protected by the northwest. I have so many bird friends. Yeah, left Tahanea, had a really squally sail with no wind, with no moon to get over here. Oops, kettle's boiling. And I'm now, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little reef. It's just below the water level that's protecting me from the west, well I hope. And then the land protecting me from the northwest. And here comes the weather. Dun 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 dun. And okay, I get it. I get it. You're boiling. Making coffee. Yeah, so I'm just gonna sit out. This is the 3rd wind clocking situation in a month, so it's kind of annoying. But there's a line of boats coming out from the east today. There's 3 over there, all trying to get some shelter from the northwest, which is tricky because it's not the prevailing wind direction. And it's starting to rain. Alright, I am taking advantage of the between squalls to move. So it's been northwesterlies and westerlies, so I've been anchored behind this reef. But now the wind is going to go north, which means that anywhere along this coastline is good protection. And then tomorrow at some point it goes a little east of north and it's gusting over 30 knots. So I need to move to have protection from the east, but it's just insane. I waited an hour and a half for it to stop torrentially downpouring. Yeah, I'm just buzzing along at 3.8 knots. I cleaned my prop, dude, and you know what? That shit works. I'm not supposed to be motoring because of my leak, but desperate times call for desperate measures. Okay, it's 2 minutes later and already starting to rain. Have the Dodger zipped up and my iPad is in there. I can sort of see where I'm going, mostly. That's all we can ask. So there's a whole chunk of boats over where I was, hiding from the westerlies, but I'm noticing that where I'm going, there's also an even bigger chunk of boats, probably hiding from what's to come. Squall watch. We have this one, and this one. And this one, that one, and that one are going to pass me by. I think that one is going to hit where I was anchored. This one is the Tuamotus during cyclone season. Such a great place to be. I don't want to speak too soon, but that's the squall. That's upwind of me. I'm just getting sprinkled on. It is possible that I'm just gonna catch the butt of this one. By the butt, I mean the ass. I'm just trying to be less profane because I've had complaints. Okay, made it in about an hour or two ago, just coming back from a walk. There's a little bit of a roll because the wind still has some west in it, but mostly I'm okay. It's a really deep anchorage. I'm in 45 feet right now, which for the Marquesas is normal, but here you also have to think about coral heads and floating your chain and untangling at that depth, so it's a little bit harder. Here's the view. Still some squall action, but it's not as bad. Yeah, you can see the roll a bit, but the wind should start to turn. Just put my dinghy back on deck for the night because it's been raining so much. I don't want it to sink. The wind should start to turn tonight, and by tomorrow it should be fine, so I can handle a little roll tonight. My thought was I'd rather wake up where I want to be than wake up really early and have to move, because who knows. Today I was able to time it with squalls. It worked out really well. I avoided every single squall somehow magically. So that's never going to happen again. It's raining so hard. This is crazy. I could have filled all my tanks probably 10 times by now, not even joking. This is insanity. But I'm super protected, and although I didn't sleep very well last night because I was worried about being so close to shore, it was okay. Luckily there was no wind reversal, and I'm really, really protected by the trees, so that is good news. The wind is kicking in pretty seriously now. Because I'm so close to shore, I'm not getting the worst of it, but it's still really intense. Probably because on my boat I can really hear the wind because I have no insulation, whereas on other boats people sleep through 30-knot squalls without even noticing. But the boats that are further out in the anchorage are really getting slammed. Let's see. It's not raining for a second. Just straight. Well, my parents' motto has always been that if there's bad weather, the best thing to do is to get out into it. So I'm going for a swim because I'm getting so stir crazy and I don't think I want to launch my dinghy in this. It's just crazily blowing. The added benefit of going for a swim is that I can dive my anchor, so I'll do that and make sure everything is cool. So I just put on my wet swimsuit that was sitting out in the cockpit all night, and it kind of smelled musty from being wet, so I put soap on it, and now I'm gonna go swim and it'll be like washing it. The morning after a big nasty weather event is always so nice. I poked my pasty little face out of my hatch and everything was kind of back to normal again. The wind was down, life was good. I felt ready to move on to the next activity, which was chilling, street chilling. I'm thinking it's a sign that the freckles in our eyes are mirror images, and when we kiss they're perfectly aligned and true. Though I have to hesitate. Wind is going to continue to shift a little bit unfavorably for the next 24 hours. And there's starting to be some swell that's wrapping. Most people wouldn't feel this in their boats, but my boat's so tiny that it's uncomfortable. This is just part of spending a lot of time in an atoll. So I want to show you guys what I do to make it hit me a little more on the bow. So I take my snubber, and usually I run it up through here, but in this case I've led it to the side of my boat through, I have these really nice adjustable fairleads, and then over to my cleat, so that it actually turns my boat so the wind is more from this direction and my bow is pointing slightly more into the waves. They're still hitting me on the side, but it's not rolling my boat. And if I wanted to get extreme, I could move it all the way back here, which I've done before, but right now it's not bad enough to do that, because then you get into issues of chafing and tra-la-la. But anyway, thought that was a fun tip for any of you guys who have smaller or rollier boats. I'll be here for another 2 days, and then I leave to go up to the town, do some town things. There's a squall coming. You can see the line of rain on the water coming towards my boat. It's blowing super hard, almost enough to make me want to take down the sunshade, but I think it's gonna be okay. There's the edge of it there. I'm just hunkering down, waiting for it to pass. So there's thunder and lightning now, which it's pretty unusual to have lightning in French Polynesia. It hasn't happened that many times. Maybe I've seen it 3 times in the last, the last year and a half that I've been here. So that's no fun. And of course, I'm the only boat here, so there's no one else bigger than me for it to hit first. Just kidding. That was right over me. Oh my god, who needs an EpiPen when you can just sit on a boat in the middle of a thunder and lightning storm? Whew. It looks like it's clearing a little there, you can see. Fuck, lightning, lightning, lightning. All my breakers are turned off and everything is unplugged, but it's still... Well, it's lightening up a little bit. It's getting steamy in the Daja. It's hot. Everything's closed. Wow. This is crazy. Just another day in paradise. Or so they say. This is insanity. I have not been filled with that much adrenaline for a very long time. Be still, my beating heart. I'm pretty sure that was written about love, but it also applies to lightning and thunder. That's my thunder impression. This is so insane for here. I have not had this experience in Panama. Please go away, lightning. Oh my god. Oh fucking hell. It struck the land. Sorry, I was focusing on my face. But there was an actual bolt of lightning over there. Oh. It's exactly midnight. I just woke up. There's a ton of lightning everywhere. Fuck. This is the third night that this has happened. This is really crazy. Kind of between lightning storms right now, so I'm going back to sleep for a little bit. I've turned off my breaker. Put all my electronics in the oven. Taking down my sunshade. Zipped up my Dodger in case it rains and winds. And I'm super tired because I wasn't sleeping very well last night either for the same reason, so. Now it's pouring rain. It's almost 1 in the morning. It's crazy party nights, man. There's something refreshing the morning after a nasty storm, or in this case, the morning after about 5 days of nasty storms, where, as William Blake, the poet, says, the doors of perception have been cleared. I awoke to a beautiful sunny day with light wind and decided it was the perfect day to sail up to town, not only because the supply ship was coming in with vegetables, but because I needed to get ready for a special guest who was arriving on my boat in exactly 1 week. I just caught the supply ship and got my first vegetables for a month. I haven't even had onions or potatoes for the past 2 months. So it's really exciting. This supply ship actually didn't have a ton of vegetables, but it's more than I've had on my boat in a really long time, so I'm really stoked on it. I just want to give you a vegetable tour because I'm really proud. Look at these. Oh yeah, zucchinis. Oh, potatoes and onions. Oh, fuck yeah. Carrots. So there's a trick with carrots that I've learned because I don't have a fridge. Carrots don't last very well out of the fridge, but if you leave them in a sealed bag, you can see it gets this moisture on the inside, and this keeps them from drying out. The only thing is that they can get slimy and rot, so you have to wash them once or twice a day, but they can last a week out of the fridge in a bag like this. Then I have pamplemousse, and I always try to buy local, but I know apples aren't local, but they last so long, and sometimes that's what's important. And then, of course, limes. One of the consequences of having a continuously wet bilge is that the water is seeping up through the bulkheads, destroying the paint, and it actually corroded out one of my hinges on this locker door. So what I'm going to do today is try to make a new hinge out of leather. And because I'm in the Tuamotus, where there are no hardware stores and there's no way to buy a hinge, I have to make my own. So I have this nice thick leather that I'm going to use. It's actually what I use to make new gaskets for my freshwater pump. And, you know, hinges existed before hinges existed. If that makes any sense to you. So I'm going to see what I can do for a temporary hinge until I get back to Tahiti and can buy a stainless one at the hardware store. I'm a little bit sad about this hinge breaking. These are nice ones because you can actually lift the door off the hinge itself. It's just sort of a pin that it sits on. So the bottom one is still okay. My first step is to take the old rusted one off. It needs a little persuading. Ta-da! So a combination of vice grips and a hammer. And the pin is out. Highly recommend this type of hinge if you're putting on locker doors. I don't know how much it costs because these are the ones that came with my boat, but being able to take the door off to access the locker is really, really nice. Okay, so now that the door is off, it's time to fit the leather, and I'm going to mark it with the door on. I need to be careful because I'm going to screw this into the wood, so I have to make sure to make the leather thick enough so that I can put screws through it and the leather won't tear through. I need to be able to make more gaskets for my hand pump because each of these gaskets only lasts about 6 to 8 months. So I don't want to take a piece of leather out of the middle, but I also need it to be thick enough. So maybe I'm thinking here or here, maybe here. It's actually not bad to have it sort of splay out like this at the ends anyway. It's kind of a clever design. Let's pretend I did that. Alright, this is what I've drawn up. This is on the side that's going to be facing the door, so these are where the screws are going to go on both sides. The one thing I'm worried about with this leather hinge is that since it doesn't have this stiffness of metal, that the door is going to sag a little bit when I open and close it. I think it's inevitable. And the only way to combat it is to get the leather as tight as possible around the edge of the door. And this is just temporary. As soon as I get to Tahiti, I'll be able to buy proper hinges to fix it, but I don't want it to hurt the other hinge, and I don't want it to hurt the latch. The next stop is my toolkit. I'm gonna try to find some short screws. I wonder if these are gonna work. I'm just gonna measure on the door to see if it's not too long. Okay, these I think will just be short enough, and especially once I add a washer. So I'm just gonna find 6 of these. Alright, so next I'm drilling holes for the screws into this piece of leather. I have gone a little bit outside of where I marked because I just changed my mind as I did things. Even though the screws are about this thickness, I am using a much smaller bit because leather is soft, and if you make a hole the size of the screw, it's going to flop around in the leather. So make a smaller hole, and then you can kind of screw the screw into the hole, and the leather will stretch around the screw. That'll give you a much tighter fit. And since leather is really soft, it's hard to drill into, so I just have some scrap wood. I'm doing it on the floor. I'm putting the leather down and then just drilling through into the wood. I've just done my second hole, and to get them symmetrical, I folded this in half and drilled through the first hole that I'd made into the second one. So for fitting this top hinge, the most important hole to measure is the point, because the washer is going to determine how close the screw can get to the edge of this door. So what I did was you can see the crease, I kind of bent the leather around this washer. I have the screw sticking just a tiny bit through the leather, and then now I drilled it because I was afraid I'd forget where I'd done it. But I just pushed the screw into the wood and made a little indent. Alright, here's the finished product. I think it looks pretty cool. And not bad. Not bad at all. It's not perfect. It does, like I was worried, the hinge bit here kind of sags a little bit when I open the door, but I don't think it's gonna hurt the hinge on the bottom, and it'll do until I can do something else. In this week's video, I am editing this and uploading it from Maine. I'm here for 3 weeks on vacation to visit my family and gather a bunch of boat parts for my haul out. Comment below if you think I should bring this sou'wester back with me and wear it on my boat. It's one that I had when I was a kid. and all my classmates signed it when I left 3rd grade and gave it to me as a gift, and I sort of have rediscovered it and fallen in love. Thank you guys for all of your lovely comments, and thank you, Tish, for being my manager and helping me schedule these bad boys online. It's really exciting for me to be able to edit a video with my computer plugged into power, because on my boat, I can't use my computer when it's on, or no, sorry, I can't charge my computer when I'm using it because it draws too much. So I have to edit in chunks of whatever the battery will allow me to do. But here I've just been sitting upstairs all morning editing away for you guys. I am going back down to my boat in 1 week. So my holiday here is almost at an end, but it's been really fun, and I really needed a visit to my family and to give my skin a break from the sun. It's been good. So, what else do I usually say? Thank you. Oh my gosh, patrons, thank you so much for supporting me and making this trip possible. You guys are thebomb.com. If you'd like to become a patron, my Patreon is patreon.com/windhippie. For one-time donations, I have a PayPal. That's paypal.me/windhippie. And my merchandise has been flying off the shelves. If you guys are interested in buying Wind Hippie sailing t-shirts, there is a link in the description below. You can join the Wind Hippie Sailing Club. Okay, I will see you guys. Patrons, I'll see you next week with a snack. And everyone else, I will see you in 2 weeks with a full-length video.